Who get it? 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 Who get it?
My name is Ludwig. I'm fighting Enrique Cortez on December 3rd for Fighters Rep 16 at the Commerce Casino. Growing up, I was a kid that was intimidated, quiet. I tried to keep to myself. You know, I would worry about everything all around me. Very fragile kid. After my first time sparring, I realized there are a lot worse things out there by getting hit in the face. So it made me realize that a lot of the stuff I have going on in my life is just me putting it on myself. I don't even second guess like going out or going to events or doing, like I've done so much. Like I went to Thailand by myself for 3 weeks. I wouldn't have done that years ago. And the fact that I did it by myself to do something that I love and figure out if this is the right path for me, it was absolutely perfect. I'm from Vacaville, California. I was born down in Simi, but I grew up there in Northern California for my whole life. About 5 years ago, I'd say I moved down here. Now I'm fighting. I was mainly a baseball kid growing up, just the traditional sports, baseball, football. Those are the main things. I tried to play all the way up until high school, and then, you know, once high school ended, kind of put an end on that run. I've been training for about 5.5 years now, and I'd say I've only started recently fighting this year. It took a long time to make my decision before I signed up with any gym because I didn't know what I was getting into. I looked at many different gyms and jiu-jitsu gyms in general, but what really made me sign up was a coworker of mine at the time talked about it. I was like, oh, I've been thinking about going there, and he egged me on to like sign up. We did. He stopped showing up after a month, and I fell in love with it. Rage reached out and invited me down to spar. We just clicked very well. Raymond was very cool, Michael was very cool. Everybody was just open arms. I felt the love. It took me aback. I didn't know what to expect, and to come into that, it really touched me. I feel like it's a second family. When he invited me at first, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll come down. And then the first time I came down, I was stuck in traffic for like 2.5 hours, and I was like, okay, I kind of know what he meant by like, it's a long drive. But even though it was long, it was worth it because these guys have pushed me to remind me why I continued with this. It makes me happy, it makes me a better person. I knew of Fighters Rep a little bit through Instagram. I had saw them on my like Explore page, and I had followed them because I was like, oh, Southern California, that's perfect, that's around this area. Over time, I had kept telling myself I wanted to sign up and register to fight. Like I came back from Thailand right near the end of 2019. Eventually, I was building my way back up. Fighters Rep was starting to put on fights again. And I kept registering to go into an event, and then everything just worked out. My old gym boss came up to me and he said that, hey, we got a short notice fight for you. You want to take it? And I said, absolutely. When I first agreed to do the fight, like I was nervous. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went home and I was up all night just going like, oh my God, I finally got it. And then, you know, time went on and I was training, trying to get in the best shape that I could. I was just in there, just pushing myself to the limit to get into that cage. And then the day of the fight, it was a little weird because I didn't feel nervous like I thought I should have. Like I felt it felt like another day. And then, you know, even walking past my opponent, like going like into the arena and whatnot, felt fine. And all of a sudden, like right after the fighter meeting, they were like giving us the instructions, we're wrapping our hands. It just set in, or this is it, like I'm here, like finally, like here we go. And it made me realize like what fighting is. The biggest takeaway I could take from that fight, I now understand fighting. You know, there's a lot of people like back in the day that would be like, okay, there's a difference between sparring and hard sparring and fighting. And I would always go, I don't understand. I now understand. I understand that the mentality that you have to have going into a fight. I was just so calm, cool, collected, not really thinking of too much. And that was my biggest problem. And I kept getting caught. And so, like I said, the biggest takeaway was I understand that now with fighting is life. Everything you do, you have to fight for, because if you don't, someone else will come in, they will fight for it. For the next few years, I want to keep fighting as much as I can. And if that's with Fighters Rep, that'd be awesome. And the goal is eventually to transition over to MMA when the time feels right. Honestly, with A lot of the fights that they put on, there's a lot of sleeper fights that turn into some of their best fights they have. And I would love to be one of those guys that nobody knows and just come on, put on a big show, and then just take over. So for this fight and the fights that I continue to have, I really want to engage with my, my background with my family. I have Danish blood, and earlier back in the day, the Danes were one of the first Vikings. And so I want to channel my inner Viking. The mentality I'm gonna have in there is either he's going to Valhalla or I am. This is who I am, this is what I am. I am fighting. Doesn't matter how many times I fail, I will keep getting back up. I will not stop. I will keep getting back up.